Great to have you. Join me once again on Politics Today, your news and current affairs ultimate show that comes live simultaneously on independent television and radio. As you know, we cut through edges to make sure that we bring you vibes in respect of the political development or what is happening in the polity in order to bring respite in the direction of the people. I always say this, even in my opening, almost in every opening, that, we can't but look at the people who are seen as pivotal in terms of governance, because the purpose for which government comes into play or existence is because of the people. So you take the people away from the equation, then what's the essence of governance? Democracy, simply put, we can't forget easily the layman's definition. Government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So the people is centered around it. But some will say that's what we used to know as the definition, but can we say this definition still holds? I am Philip Omo Gupong. On today's episode of Politics Today, we're going to be looking at two issues. One is the issue surrounding the attack on INEC REC in Kogi State, and we woke up on Friday morning to see reports about how the INEC REC a resident was attacked, and it was a huge one where even the security operatives attached to the INEC REC had to engage in a gun battle with the gunmen for over 30 minutes until there was a reinforcement, more reinforcement from the security architecture of the state. And if not that, well, we would have seen more deadly reports about it. But good to know, no lives was lost, but property worth millions were destroyed. And we can only say what necessarily, degenerated to this extent, what made it happen, what could be the reason. Well, the police really are investigating, and we just hope that they will fish out the perpetrators of that dastardly act. But again, away from that, we're going to be looking at Edo gubernatorial race coming forth in a few months' time. Edo 2024 gubernatorial race seems to bring intrigues and suspense on the minds of the people. Again, we look at INEC and its readiness in conducting off-cycle elections. We can't but remember that took place in Bayelsa, in Kogi and Imo State. Well, some will say the one that even took place in Imo State, where we had INEC returning the ruling party's candidates in person of Usman Dodo, it's a whole lot that leaves a test on the minds of the general public or the electorate. Some have said that, well, it could be that the electoral process could be seen as really shady, not bringing out credibility in the election that was conducted in Kogi or in other states during the off-cycle elections. And some will also say, well, the ability of INEC to bring to test, that it has been able to correct those lapses that it had in the general election came on board. But as they would have it, INEC also failed. Well, we're going to be looking at that as it reflects and also relates to the Edo Guba race that we'll be experiencing in 2024. How will it count? And looking at the need for us to bring about respite in governance, most especially as it has been argued that, well, it is ideal for every senatorial district in the state to take its turn in producing the governor of the state. A huge one is who is going to succeed Governor Godwin Obaseki, and looking at the issues surrounding how parties are going to throw up their candidates, and talking about the political figures among the senatorial districts. We have some saying that, well, Edo South has the highest, figure in terms of the numbers to decide who wins. And some will also say, well, followed by Edo North, but Edo Central seems to be very, very down on the table as per the political figures. But all of this will be discussed with my analysts on this show. But basically, let me quickly say that I have with me a seasoned human rights activist, a legal practitioner, that will be joining me via Zoom from Abuja, Barrister Itote Damisa. Good morning, Damisa.
Philip, how are you doing?
I'm great, as you can see. A nice Abuja this morning.
Very okay. You look good. You look good as usual. You look good. Good to see you.
Awesome. Thank God that I've not been badly battered by the economy, if we must say that.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
So let's look at the issues before us. And basically, we're gonna be joined by another seasoned legal practitioner in the person of Daniel Osa Ogbegye. But also, we're gonna be having an opportunity to also be joined by Greg Iyayi, who is also a clergyman. With this, we're going to be having various ideas which you never will miss out from. Don't forget that in the course of the program, we will be opening the call line, and we will be verbalizing the call line to our listeners on independent radio so that they can also join our viewers. And it's expected that you are civil in your presentation. We take a short break, after which we continue firing on all cylinders, as the politicians will say. Thanks for your time and thanks for staying with us. And my guest in the studio at my extreme left, I have a clergyman, a reverend, and a seasoned human rights activist and legal practitioner in the person of Reverend Greg Iyayi. Thanks for joining me, Greg.
Good morning, viewers, and thank you for having me, Philip.
And next to Greg, I also have another seasoned legal practitioner in the person of Dan Osa Ogbegye. Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much, Philip, for having me this morning.
All right, and I also have Damisa Itote, right from Abuja, joining me via Zoom. Quickly, let's hit the ground running, and I choose to start with Greg Iyayi. Looking at what we have here about the INEC REC attack in Kogi State, some have said that, well, it could be closely related to the election, governorship race, the off-cycle election held in that state. What are your thoughts and your bite in this direction?
Well, it couldn't have been unrelated to that, but I condemn in totality any act of violence against any government official or against any Nigerian for whatever reason, because there are other avenues for you to seek redress. Having said that, we also want to say very pointedly and as categorically as we can, don't make yourself attackable. And don't attract to yourself the kind of attack that we are seeing, either by your behavior, by your dereliction of duty, or whatever. And I think we also need to say that, because provocation is also not a good thing to do. You know, there's a time that people reach the elastic limit of their endurance and civility, and when you stress them beyond that, you know, they could just do anything, and we have lost it. But all the same, I'm not in support of any act of violence against anybody. And then, like I've said, there are other avenues of seeking redress.
You spoke about avenues of seeking redress, and that reminds me of what one of the gubernatorial candidates said, that he has lost confidence in the judiciary. I want you to take it from there, Daniel Ogbegye.
You know, it's always very easy for Nigerians who lose election or who lose in court to blame the system, to blame the judiciary, to blame the electoral umpire. You know, we know that many Nigerians are bad losers. They don't lose well. But when they win, they praise the system. When they win, they praise INEC. When they win, they praise the judiciary. I want to tell Nigerian politicians not to heat up the polity unnecessarily. They should know that there's always a tomorrow. If you don't win today, you can win tomorrow. Just make yourself have a relationship with the people. Connect with the people. When you are popular, it is always very hard for you to be rigged out. And when you lose election, accept it and move on. Start planning for the next election. Now, if you want election results to be overturned, there are avenues for that to be done.
Through the judiciary, one of the ways?
We have the electoral tribunal.
Yeah.
And we've had situations where many elections have been overturned in this country. Many elections have been overturned in this country. There are people who came through the decision of the same judiciary But because they now lost, there's somebody who lost the election in 2003, and through the judiciary, he came to power in 2006. And the same person this year started blaming the judiciary in an election he was not primed to win, in an election that there was no way he could win. He didn't have the numbers anywhere. And he started blaming the judiciary. Okay. When his lawyers did not do what they ought to do.
Okay, there's an adage that says an owl cried at night and the baby died the following morning. Yes. So it could be closely related. We're just saying this not necessarily because we have it on reports that is as a result of the election that was conducted in Kogi State. But looking at what we have here, they seem to be very, very closely related. So let's have your bite, Damisa. Because looking at what we have, we've had situations where year in, year out, we've had situations where even politicians feel the laws seem not to be catching up with the politicians that do irregular activities in the course of election. As we have always said it in forums that not as if we don't have the laws, but implementation has become a problem. Now, how do we get this right? Because we believe that the police is investigating this in order to get the perpetrators of this act and serve as deterrent. But do you trust the process of implementing these laws?
Thank you very much, Mr. Philip. And once again, I'm happy to be joining you. But let me just quickly point something out that I can hear the two other panelists. I don't know, I think there's a technical issue. I can hear you very well, very clearly, you are very audible, but I can't hear the other. So I'm seems to be lost in the conversation. But going to your question, correct as the philosopher, correct as Scott, that said, not situation where freedom and justice will be parceled out in pieces with political convenience. Because freedom and justice cannot be packaged to suit politicians. Like that. System, the answer is no, and that is why taking laws into their hands. We have built strong men instead of building strong institutions. And in several fora, that we cannot afford in this country strong men having weak institutions. Who have lost confidence, who have confidence in the system, believe INEC. They don't believe the security apparatus. And that is why you are saying these issues that are happening. There's no promise that they will investigate and do other things and everything. Of course, they will always be on top of it. Because that has always been the slogan. But the problem we have strong politicians. Institutions we have cannot match up with these strong men. The problem is solution. Begin to rebuild trust. How do you rebuild trust? Build strong institutions. So that even if Mr. A comes on board today, the institution, they are very potent. If they have viral institutions, if the institutions are formidable, politicians will play by the rules. But when we have the reverse, reality is what we are saying now. Because we have very weak institutions, but of course, strong men. And that is my view.
Thank you, Damisa Itote. Thank you very much. A lot has been said in that direction about having institution working and being that we seem to have strong men over weak institutions, and which we need to correct. But we've always been on that road, and we seem not to be getting it right. Even the present administration under President Bola Tinubu, we still have these issues where some have said that the institutions seem to be weak in terms of having a grip by this administration to correct the anomalies. But do you see a process where maybe amendment can be done in order to reduce the powers of the president or even the governors?
Well, what we have on paper is not the issue. The operators of the system are actually the issue.
Is it not because they have more discretionary powers, which I think, to my mind, should be reduced?
You see, the courts have imposed upon themselves, I'm very sorry to say, some form of self-censorship. The constitutional powers given to the courts they should use it. Heaven will not fall. If a candidate loses, the candidate loses.
But don't forget the other executive influence factor that may also overwhelm the judiciary.
What is the executive influence that will overwhelm a Supreme Court judge? A Supreme Court judge is on a salary for life. What do you want to threaten him for? By the time you get up to the Supreme Court,
can he not be removed?
Of course, to remove a Supreme Court judge, you follow the same process as removing the president or removing the vice president.
Wow.
So it is very difficult, and you really have to prove that you have reason to remove him. And then you've got to get the number, the votes. It's 2/3. So it's not as easy as that to just remove a Supreme Court judge. So what we are saying, even as much as Buhari was very much against Onohe, he couldn't actually remove him. He only suspended him. So
okay. That comes the issue. They can be suspended.
They can be suspended. You see, what is
I think Buhari even acted ultra-virus at the time.
Yes.
You know, he didn't actually have the power to do what he did. That was what there was this uproar.
I'll come back to you.
I'm just trying to.
Yes. Yeah. You see, Buhari even acted beyond his power, because there was something was supposed to have done before bringing him before the Code of Conduct Tribunal, which he did not do. So what I'm saying, were you born a Supreme Court judge? You were not. If the worst happens and you have to be removed for the purpose of integrity. I watched the burial ceremony and the tributes to Justice Sandra O'Connor, who was the first female Supreme Court judge in the U.S., yesterday night. What the resounding judgment she gave against the high and the mighty, even against the government that people thought he was sympathetic with, using the law was something that shaped, the powers of the Supreme Court. That even in America, you are a president, like the Supreme Court has given a lot of judgments against the present administration. They even did not fall. Yes, even Biden said that these judgments are out of order, and that's where it stops. So what I'm saying is that the judges should do the needful. The judiciary should exercise its constitutional powers. It's an arm of government. It's not subservient to any other arm of government.
Okay, we just hope that the police will investigate this and find a lasting solution to this, and we just hope that it goes through to a point where we have it in our courts and justice being served. But what do you have to add to that in terms of having strong institutions over?
Yeah, some of us have always canvassed for us to build institutions instead of building strong men. Now the problem is not with just Nigeria alone, is with most third world countries. And that is what makes them third world countries. We were discussing it in our constitutional law class the other day, and we were talking about really looking at institutions. If we want to build our democracy, we must build, first of all, the legislature. The legislature, which is the fulcrum of our democracy. We must build it, we must make it a lot better, and we must look at the kind of people that we send to the legislature. And of course, we must build our criminal justice system. Talking about criminal justice system, we are talking about the judiciary, we are talking about the law enforcement agencies like the police, the EFCC, ICPC, and the rest of them. And even our prison system, there must be prison reforms. If there's no two ways about it, it's not a miracle. Countries that move from third world to the first world, they didn't do it miraculously. It was charted, it was well charted, it was well planned for them to be where they became. China, about 30 years ago, was a third world country. Now we need to study how they were able to move from third world to first world. We need to study how Singapore has been able to move from third world to first world. We must do what it takes. We must make sacrifices, and we must consciously select people to government by looking at their track record, by looking at their history, not looking at tribe, not looking at religion, not looking at whether they are my brother or my sister or something like that, but it must be that, oh, this person has done ABC before,
Okay.
and we believe that if we take him to this place, he'll be able to accomplish XYZ.
All right, thank you for that articulation. We can only say praise be to God for not having a very, very negative report about any life being lost in that process. And we just hope that investigations that are ongoing will be able to bring the perpetrators to book. But Damisa, why I expect that you react in that regard, because you raised about strong institution over, strong men rather, over institutions. Let's look at the way forward in terms of pointing amendments in this act in order to reduce the powers of maybe the governors or the presidents, so that we can check all of these activities that has to do with even the party in power. Why you react to that, I want to also make you react to the other side of the coin, where we have the off-cycle election coming up next year in Edo State, and the die has been cast, and political parties are already working towards having people being nominated, to pick interest forms and also to look in the direction of aspirations in that regard. But do you see, because some have said that the senatorial districts should be made to produce the office of the governor, should be made to produce the governor sequentially. If we had it by Edo North, then we also had it having the incumbent governor from Edo South. Then it should be the turn of Edo Central to feed in the governor for Edo State. I want you to take those reactions in that light.
Thank you very much, Mr. Philip. In furtherance of my position as regards strong men and strong institutions, my point is this: justice and power must be brought together. Power must be brought together so that whatever is just may be powerful, and whatever is powerful may be just. Put the two together. On one flank, you must have an egalitarian society. Then you have power. Marry these two together, continue with governance, as far as I'm concerned. Going forward, we must have people of leadership that they bring justice and power together. It's powerful with the just. The just will be powerful. The way we can make, we can make progress in this country. Flip side of the coin, Edo. This is my public, endorsement of the system that is going on. And this should be my own formal position. Agitation going on in Edo State. There is an ESAN agenda, an ESA-centric agenda, as it were. The people like us believe we should be looking at an Edo agenda, a people-centric agenda. The only way we can also move forward in Edo State. To be in my own understanding, too plural, too infertile. If you are looking at an ESA agenda, looking at somebody that is coming to govern Edo, that means you are looking at somebody that is coming to govern only ESA. Then we should be looking at an agenda, a people-centric agenda, by following a fair and just, approach. What is fair and just? Go back to the senatorial district. Don't produce governor. Has produced governor there with a short stint. So people like us are in support of Edo Central producing the next governor of Edo State. 2 reasons: equity, justness of it, the good conscience in it. Central senatorial district, next governor. Look at it on the basis of an agenda. If you look at it on the basis of an agenda, then we'll be losing the point. Rather, we should look at an Edo Central man, governor of Edo State, and for Edo people. And that is my position, so that we can allow other people to.
Thank you for that articulation. Well, I think you got that right, Greg. I will want your reaction in that.
Yes, I think when you are talking of merits, some people think merit is not located in one geographical zone. Merit can be sourced from every zone. And that is why I believe that there should be equity, there should be balance, because equity brings stability. And when a people voluntarily decide to be fair and to show equity, then it also provokes loyalty from all the people around. So I believe that the Edo Central Senatorial District, you cannot continue to play the ball over their heads, from south to north, north to south, and so on. That is the second largest, ethnic group.
But again, we have the Gunmen, which seem not to support that. It must be a senatorial district taking its turns to produce the government.
No, we are not
so constitutionally, I think we could be having a setback.
No. You see, the Constitution did not specify it, and the Constitution did not forbid it.
Okay.
The Constitution.
Can we say the Constitution is silent?
The Constitution is silent or neutral about it. And if you look at what's been going on in a state like Delta, it would have been very difficult for an Ishekiri man to have become the governor of Delta State. And then also, when Okowa was picked and people kicked against it, one of the things Ibori and Uruboma said, this is a man who has been a local government chairman, grassroots politician. He has been a senator. He has legislative experience. He has been a commissioner for health. He has been SSG. And who do you want to be the governor? And he spoke to his Urobo tribesmen. Let's allow equity to reign. They've been voting for us. Now, let us also vote for them. And that it's fair to do so. Delta State is a very volatile state, but that has kind of calmed tensions.
Okay. I think going by what Damisa Itote said concerning it not being seen as ecocentric, that is the turn of an Edo Central to produce a governor, but rather let it be seen as an Edo agenda where equity can be allowed to come
exactly.
From that import of statement, what do you make of that, Daniel?
Well, he was trying to be clever by half, by making his statement look that way. He's pushing for he's pushing for the next governor of Edo State to come from Edo Central. It's understandable, he used to work with Chief Tony Anene for a long time. Even as a student, he was working with Chief Tony Anene. So he also has lots of, his leaders.
But don't you think the lapse in that direction calls for it? Because for quite some time now, the Edo Central has not been able to fill its position in that regard.
Yes, excuse me, please. Now, the point that must be made is that politicians who push for a tribal agenda, who campaign on the basis of,
equity.
No, not equity. They campaign on the basis of, it is the turn of my tribe to produce the governor. They are lazy politicians.
Don't forget, his talking point is from
the
basis of equity. I want to guide you. His talking point is on the basis of equity.
It is not equity. Somebody can hide whatever he is saying by putting a beautiful word that appears to appeal to people. It doesn't make it that word.
Okay.
Because if you even talk about equity in the first place, he's a lawyer. He understands that he who comes to equity must do equity. Have they done equity? Now you must look at that.
Who are you referring to that have not done equity?
He's talking for Edo Central people. Have they done equity to now seek for equity?
What do you mean by if they've done equity? What do you expect them to do?
That is the point. Now, we must look at the history of Edo State. I recall in 2007 when some people supported Adams Oshomole to be governor of Edo State. At the time, nobody from Esako, where Adams Oshomole hails from, had ever been governor of either Edo or Bende or Midwest. Nobody from Esako has ever been deputy. Nobody from Esako has ever been minister. Now, some people saw it as wisdom to bring in Adam Shomole. Of course, he was very popular at the time. He was a NSC president, was a popular NSC president, and they supported him. But you know that the leaders from Edo Central, who are calling for equity now, they said no. that it must be somebody from Edo Central. It must be an Esama. And Chief Tony Anene supported Odion Gbesha, to the position of governor of Edo State. But they did not look at the fact that Esako had never produced anything in Edo or Bende or Midwest before that time. Esako had never produced minister, Esako had never produced governor or deputy governor. They don't look at that. But before then, Edo Central had already produced, in this republic, 4 ministers in quick succession. Chief Tony Anene was Minister for Works. After him, Joseph Itoto became minister. After him, the Odion Gbesha himself has been minister. Olorunmeme has been minister. In fact, in this republic, they have 5 ministers. And because of that, they have a lot of their people in federal parastatals, ministries, and agencies that got appointment at the time. I mean, we were all grown, we were adults. At that time, they had a free reign. Out of 100% of the people who got federal appointment or federal jobs, you had 85% of them from Edo Central. Okay. And now you are talking about equity. Right. So we must not allow people hide under a nebulous word of equity to hide their real agenda. Okay. What we have is an Esan agenda. They should come out with it and say it. Let us discuss it. Now, my point is that we must not have a tribal agenda. Of course, we should have the Edo agenda. And in having the Edo agenda, in having the Edo agenda, we must look at any Edo man who has capacity, any Edo man who has shown capacity, and we must look at their program. We must look at what they plan for Edo State and for Edo people. Now, we have a risk right now of turning this into a tribal war, forgetting that Edo is one. All Edo tribes trace their history to the Benin Kingdom, to the ancient Benin Kingdom. Okay. So why should we be talking about has there ever been any governor who became governor of this state, right from Bende State to date, who campaigned on the back of a tribal agenda? There has never been none. Okay, but I think when he was campaigning for governor, it's about the people. He never talked about the point. Agenda. You articulated the point. He never talked about the agenda. You articulated the point. It's about the people, anyways. Because when I started, so this, when I hear when I started this show, I started it. My spirit. Yes, when I started this show, I started it with the government of the people, by the people and for the people. Yes. Which democracy, by layman's definition, is all about. Yes. And so let's begin to see how the people will decide that, because irrespective of the fact that the constitution seems neutral in that regard, but we must guide the people so that they don't deceive people. But the people will have to decide. Just like some have said that, just like some have said that, well, the governor has a preferred candidate or a preferred someone he would want to bring in, to be the candidate of the party, in this governorship race. But the governor has said it clearly that he has no preferred candidate. He doesn't have any preferred person on that list for a candidate for the party. Well, let's look at your reactions in this regard. Some have said that incumbency factor is very, very significant in producing equity or producing a difference that will be embraced by the people in this direction. What do you think, Damisa?
If I got you clearly, you're talking about the constitution being silent, rotational power or rotational governorship. If people want to argue, we look for the convenient issues to argue in your favor. The constitution, in my view, is not silent. Section 14, sub 3 and 4 of the 1999 constitution as amended made copious arrangement for rotational power.
Oh, that's not true.
Sorry.
Okay. Go ahead.
And it's talking about the principle of federal character. 14 sub 4 specifically made reference to states. Position of government of the federation or the state or any sub-unit to be consistent, to be or to make it an ethnic issue, to have people of one ethnic tribe dominating the system. A federal character, and by virtue of that section, the Federal Character Act was also enacted by the National Assembly. The Federal Character Commission, it is very clear. It's just that we tend to shy away from some of these issues. That we must ensure that there shall be no predominance of persons from a few local governments or from a few ethnic identities. dominating or sectional group dominating in that government. So I'm happy that you have two prominent lawyers there. They should go and look at the federal character, establish this issue.
This term is not true.
It is clear. So my point is this. This man or the Edo Central man who must come, we must search for him or her. It must be people-centric. Something to the sense that is going to represent all tribes, all races. And achieve the all-round development of Edo State. That is what we are debating for. We are not for any form of ethnic agenda. We are for an Edo agenda.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Having somebody from Edo North Senatorial District representing on Osadebe Avenue in 2024. Question you are asking whether incumbency factor will play a role. So my answer is that it's a big no. Look, the era of having below coming to take over power in Edo State was as simple. In fact, if you trace history, you were fortunate to govern Edo State, no money. That from Somole had no money. Ali had no money. And one brought him, went to University of Benin Teaching Hospital from the morbid anatomy department and brought him to come and be governor.
Okay.
He was a permanent secretary. We had no money. So in terms of saying the incumbency factor will play a role, I would say no in this election.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's quickly set the stage for the stage is already set. Let's quickly get the calls being poured into us on the number that will be displayed on the screen for our viewers and, of course, listeners on independent radio to join us. The number is 0807 777 0300. Pour your calls at us, 0807 777 0300. And ensure that you are civil in your presentation. Well, Damisa just said it, that it has to do with a kind of way in which the Constitution is not even neutral or silent about it, looking at the federal character in position. Do you concur, Greg?
Well, the Constitution did not specifically, make provision for rotation, but did emphasize that there should be equity. And we should not allow a position where there will be predominance of some particular people or from a particular ethnic or religious group.
So what you are trying to say is that the Constitution emphasized on equity?
The emphasis of the Constitution is on equity.
Okay.
And equity brings peace. It brings stability. And let me say this. Edo North, Ogiadome was from Edo North. Ahigbe was from Edo North. The former GMD of NNPC, Adams, was from Edo North. So what I'm saying, Garba, Aziz Garba, was from Edo North, was a federal permanent secretary, one of the most powerful federal permanent secretaries, Ministry of Defense. So what we are saying is this: let us give the Esan people an opportunity. Let them bring out somebody who will actually be the governor of Edo State, not the governor of Esan land. And I don't think the Esan people have been short of that. Ali gave a good account of himself. To a large extent, I think Osubo also gave a good account of himself. So far they bring out somebody who will be governor of Edo State. We can zero in on that. Okay, we can concede to you on the basis of equity, but you must bring out somebody who will be governor of Edo State, not a parochial governor, not a tribal governor.
Some have said that for any party to feed in a candidate that is from Edo Central, that party could be losing a lot of points in terms of political numbers that may count against it. What do you have to say there?
But it is the reason why they are not pushing for all the major parties to feed their candidates from Edo Central. I mean, this is a very parochial, very tribal, very selfish agenda that they are on. I've never seen this kind of thing before. I mean, it is wrong. It has never happened in Edo State. I mean, you are pushing for all the parties to bring candidates from Edo Central. Is it that means that we must now start quizzing? We must start analyzing their intention. Is it that your intention is that so that the days of Anene can come back, when Anene sat and decided who got what from Edo State, and he gave 85% to Esan people, and not just only Esan people, he gave 85, he gave like maybe 75% to Agbazilo, where he comes from, and Obiaja and Oromiazis. No, we cannot go back to those dark days.
Okay,
we must look at fairness, and equality is actually equity, or equity is equality.
Good morning, caller. Good morning, caller. What's your name, please? Sonny from Sapler Road. Go ahead with your contribution, please.
Thank you very much. In as much as I have also clamored for a dual agenda to the ASA, it's also important for us to ask ourselves whether we are ready for the agenda. Because that will fail me to mention name of some persons who have also faced the ASA people from ASA land. So it's just to say that it is ASA at all. It is not in the constitution that zoning or rotation should be is there. And I think that in as much as we also want equity, justice and fairness, it's also important for the ASA man to put his hand in order, so that what happened to the eastern part of the people will also happen to us, where I am also from the ASA land. I also think that number one, the purpose of democracy, politics, is for the purpose of good governance to the people. And the people must be ready to ensure that the process is free, is fair, and is adjudged credible. But the government don't say, will they allow that to happen? Even though he also believes in the agenda, he must also allow free and fair primary, so that those who are not allowed, we know that they were not allowed from the people. So the agenda is very key. That we also need the best of the people. Just like Mr. Badia said, you must prove yourself that you are credible, you have the capacity. Not to come and tell me that you pay salary, you are achieved something, or you are able to build a lifestyle hotel, you have achieved something. So the other people must be willing to go through the process. And if the formula is not credible, even though you build the 5-star road, people will not trust you. So the other, including the other agenda, the people must be credible. Not the one that are jumping from party to party, and the fellow to trust you will not allow them. So I want to say that during the other agenda, everybody must be carried along. Go to the stand of the primary. Don't ban the candidate.
Okay.
Let the delegate be the one to choose.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sonny. Thank you, Sonny. You've articulated a point. Thank you, Sonny. And let's look at what other contributors will say.
It is essential
in that regard.
for me to quickly make this statement.
Okay,
it's
in 30
essential.
seconds.
Yes. No, I mean, you don't streamline me. Now, it is essential for me to make this statement. At what point do we stop in tribal agitation? Or when people can get up tomorrow and say that they never produce a governor. Akoko people can get up tomorrow and they say that they never produce a governor.
No, we are looking at these three senatorial districts.
Let's not throw spanner on the wheel of progress. My point all the time. I don't like this.
Okay, you have 10 seconds.
I don't know my point. You tell me I have 10 seconds and you just gag me. Come on now, let me make my point. We came here to make our points. Let me make my point. At what point? There are different agendas. The one point we make their own. After they will come and say that not produce deputy governor or governor.
You said it.
You are repeating
what you said.
Even audio people.
You have said it.
I also saying the same thing.
You are saying that it's based on tribal sentiments.
I'm saying that we must focus on capacity.
Okay.
We must focus on the person. Let's not look at who the tribe the person is.
Okay,
Let's not look at the senatorial district the person comes from.
Okay, let's quickly get this.
Let's quickly get this.
Hello, caller. Good morning, caller. Let's have your name and location and quickly make your contribution.
This is Advocate. I'm calling from Gunmen.
Okay, Advocate, go ahead.
Yeah, with all due respect, I totally disagree with the man with the red cap. Because the truth of the matter is this. The person that emphasized federal character just now, I would have expected them to react to that.
I already reacted to that.
That is a part of it.
I already reacted to that.
It's a form of rotational
All right, thank you.
And two, look at the situation in the donuts now. See, Ochumole has that way as a political figure there. Look at the position, the ambassador, the minister, the deputy governor, the governor. Are they not concentrated there?
Okay, thank you, advocate. Thank you, advocate. I'm afraid I must.
It is what he's saying that, and then they also did in his time.
You made your point.
One and then was leader.
Now let's give room. Let's give room for us to bring this synergy and bring this episode of Politics Today to a conclusion. Quickly, starting with you, Damisa, what are your thoughts as we round off? Giving you 15 seconds to round off.
Very quickly, in 30 seconds.
15 seconds.
I said very fundamental. People must come together. There must be a synergy. The character, the candidate who will be sellable to all.
Okay.
It will be a problem from there.
Thank you very much.
Let me just conclude on this. That they must come together to say, I'm no longer accepting the things I cannot change. Changing the things I cannot accept.
Thank you. Let's get your submission on this.
For the purpose of equity, we are not forcing anyone. We are appealing that please let us give this senatorial district that appears to have been sidelined for some time the opportunity to do so.
Okay.
And let the senatorial district give us the best.
All right, thank you.
Who will be governor of Edo
State. Thank you. Daniel Bege, quickly, have your say.
I will still say that we must focus on the person, we must focus on the aspirants and not the tribe or the senatorial district that the person comes from. Because, I mean, Esan has never been sidelined. They produce 5 ministers in this republic.
Thank you.
No other senatorial district have done that.
Thank you for your contribution. Big thanks to you, Greg Yaya, and of course, Damisa Itote and Daniel Bege for having an opportunity to be part of this discussion. And I want to say big thanks to Sonny from Airport Road and Advocate that called in. This is where we call it a wrap onto this edition. Join us same time next week. I'm Philip Omo Gupon. Bye for now.